RAV coming back here, just to give a kind of a little solo thing on my take on the Jeff Jarrett situation here. Is he's suing the Impact Anthem and Impact Wrestling? Like, I was a little rushed on the HeelCast today, which I apologize when we recorded it. Truthfully, I was pretty distracted, had things going on, and I don't feel like I gave this enough time and energy and fair analysis for everyone. So, like, I just want to give my take here. So, it was clear as day that Jeff Jarrett was bitter after losing his job and parting ways with Anthem when they let him go. You could tell by the comments that he said, and that's fair. A lot of people do that with their job. I'm not saying that I feel it's a fact, but I feel there's a strong possibility that Jeff Jarrett's run out of money. And that's because, look at the investment that he spent into GFW and stuff like that, only to have it fail. It would probably make almost anyone run out of money. But his intentions, there's a couple of theories there. I think, for one, I think Jeff Jarrett's trying to restart GFW, or what's now called GFE. He's in the good graces with Vince McMahon again. And, I feel like Vince probably understands Jeff Jarrett does have a good mind for the business. Like, Lord knows he's only taken about half the talents Jeff Jarrett found and stole a lot of ideas throughout the years from him, too. And I think, like, maybe Jarrett is thinking he can get the GFW amped on the WWE network, or maybe even be to NXT what NXT is to Raw and SmackDown right now. If GFW is to be marketed, mentioned, all that on the WWE network, that's obviously going to get the global force entertainment, or whatever you want to call it, more attention than it's gotten here in the past. And I think, too, like, maybe Jarrett is hoping that by doing this, he can launch his own network. He's going after the Global Wrestling Network name and the logo. Now, the global aspect apparently was Jeff Jarrett's idea, or that's what we're known to believe. So I think maybe Jarrett may be trying to start something along those lines. So if he gets the name that he originally started, it's been advertised on WWE Network. It's been advertised on Impact Wrestling. So, maybe consumers may say, hey, or they're watching this Hardy thing on the WWE Network and see, hey, go to Global Wrestling Network or whatnot. They go to that, and now it's not the Impact page, it's the Jeff Jarrett stuff. So I feel like there's a scheme there. Another thought that's kind of went through my head is, Anthem inherited a lot of debt when they purchased Impact Wrestling. And, Jeff Jarrett may be convinced that Anthem is out of money. I mean, he said that. Who knows? The guy was probably drunk and definitely bitter. But, if you look at it this way, so if he's feeling that way, and if this lawsuit, it might take them to spend a lot of money, especially if they lose, then they're going to lose more money, time invested, and all that. Then maybe him and Vince both feel like, hey, this will be the last stop for Anthem, and they're going to cut ties, sell that network over to us, and be done. And so, for one, that'll make Vince happy if he can possibly buy the Impact Wrestling Library, or maybe Jeff could as well. But look, for Vince, he's always had the hatred and problems with Impact Wrestling, so Impact is dead. That gets him closer to a monopoly. That's more stars to be available for Vince McMahon. Plus, the only, Impact Wrestling is so far from being competition to the WWE again, it's ridiculous, and it probably never, ever, 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 ever will be. The ratings being so low, it never will be. But Impact Wrestling is by far the only company in the United States that can ever, ever become competition to the WWE again. That eliminated, that's going to, completely give him that breath of fresh air. It's possible, although it's highly, highly, highly doubtful that Impact could ever be able to come near the WWE, to be that pimple on the ass, as they used to call him. And I feel like Jarrett had a plan to overthrow Ed Nordholm at one point, and that was his idea from the start, and to have full control. So, I mean, this leaves a roster without jobs that could also sign with the Global Force Entertainment Company were this to happen. So, I mean, that's a little extreme, but I feel like it could be a thought process. Obviously, you could go through a lot of heads. Now, also by taking that Global Wrestling Network name away, it causes the renaming, which, it's an Impact Wrestling is running this thing. So when they rename the network, it's probably going to be TNA Impact Wrestling related, right? So that could potentially rub some of these other promotions wrong. It shouldn't, because Lord knows they wouldn't get any exposure without. But who knows, right? So here's what I have to tell you, Jeff Jarrett. So, and what Jeff Jarrett needs to lose, because I know he's not going to ever going to listen to this, but look, nobody cares about Global Force Wrestling or GFE. Literally, the only time anyone cared is when it was on Impact Wrestling and was taking over. It was literally taking over the namesake. Literally, there's not one hardcore GFW fan out there. There's no one that is claiming for more. Literally, the Global Wrestling Network, or the Global Force Wrestling product, the shows that he put out, they were decent, but nothing to be desired or special. The only thing that really stood out from him is something I've been saying on the show for years, that Chael Sonnen would be a great get for Impact Wrestling, or wrestling in general, with the promo that he cut on Jeff and Karen one day. It was probably the best promo I've seen ever. not ever, but, you know, the best in a lot of years. So, and the thing is, too, is that the WWE Network won't gain, and the Global Wrestling Network won't gain one single viewer because of the Global Wrestling, or the GWF AMP Anthology or whatever. And honestly, Global Wrestling Network's not going to lose one viewer because that stuff is done either. So, Jeff Jarrett put in this lawsuit, they're talking about causing confusion, mistake, or to deceive affiliation with the approval of GWE. Look, GFE has no consumers to feel confused or deceived with. Honest to God. Like, who is into GFE? Honestly, GFE wasn't even a thing when, you know, this was airing on TV, you know, because Global Force Wrestling, whatever, he was in rehab. This wasn't even a thing. And honestly, I mean, why now? Why now? Obviously, this came out after Jeff had parted ways and been released from his duties. But yet, and still, they still aired, what, 2 more versions of the One Night Only anthology series? So, if that was such a problem, Jeff, why didn't you do it back then and stop it? And the thing is, my point just kind of got proved. This was released under the TNA Impact One Night Only shows. This was legitimately given to and also released under the Impact Wrestling name. I feel Jeff Jarrett has no claim in it because it was a TNA Impact Wrestling One Night Only show, both on pay-per-view and on their Global Wrestling Network. It's being advertised as One Night Only. So, I feel, look, Jeff Jarrett will probably get his tapes back in his DVDs or whatever, his library, but I also don't feel Impact Wrestling should give him a single cent, nor do they owe it to him because it was released under their name. On top of it, I don't feel like they should have to take it off of the Global Wrestling Network either. It was, again, you know, released under TNA Impact Wrestling name. But look, here's the thing, the last thing I want to say too, and so Jeff Jarrett talks about the damage and identifiable loss in consumers and whatnot. Here's the thing, Jeff Jarrett he had a drinking problem, and Anthem told him to go home and get himself taken care of, which he refused to do. He tied their hands, and they had to let him go. So that's for one, because look at all the stuff they had invested in Jeff Jarrett on top of that. So that's going to cause them to take a step back. The name change to GFW and back, that turned a lot of fans away and rubbed them wrong. So that's probably a loss of consumer and business. And then you think about what happened to those tapings, because all the Jeff Jarrett stuff that was set up going into Bound for Glory had to be taken away from television. So, again, we had a Hernandez situation where it's just basically they have to try and dig up content to put on the show. Content that nobody was interested or cared about, which damaged the product. And, of course, the garbage product that Jeff Jarrett booked between Slammiversary heading into Bound for Glory, it was complete shit, which is obviously going to turn viewers away. And, of course, the terrible gimmick that Jeff Jarrett was involved with that went, I mean, it was good at the time with Dan Lambert and all, but it ended up taking a bad turn with James Storm and all that. And, of course, the most marketable guy that Impact Wrestling had, their biggest star in EC3, Jeff Jarrett completely killed off any steam and momentum he had, which a lot of people feel was because of a pissing war with Dixie Carter for her nephew that isn't even her real-life nephew, just to shit on the Carter name and prove that Jeff Jarrett won. A pissing contest he had already won. Jeff Jarrett did a lot of damage to Impact Wrestling. Look, I had a lot of respect for the guy. He's a founder of the company, and I think he did a lot of great things. And I was even, you know, I thought it was going to be a huge loss to lose Jeff Jarrett. But what's happened since then, you know, seeing him crying and kissing Vince McMahon's ass over the WWE Hall of Fame and all that, and also now with this just pathetic